Good afternoon, everybody. How you doing, baby? Welcome to the Good Neighbors. I'm Lamont.
I'm Dre. I don't know if I like that now. I was complaining about me starting it off, but I don't know if I like you starting it off now. I think you trying to take my shine, man.
It's not that I'm trying to take your shine. It's just like now that you told me that you said it, I had no problem with you doing it in the beginning. I was cool sitting in the back, you know.
Yeah.
You know.
We gonna switch that back up.
Yeah, you got it. You can have it.
I think that's where my energy kicks in at.
The introduction is what builds you.
Yeah, I think that's what builds me is the intro, man. You know what I mean? But yeah, welcome back, man. Good Neighbors podcast, like he said. Golly, today it's on me, man. We talking about moving on. Moving on.
We're talking about moving on. That's on you. Yes.
And moving on in the likes of everything, man. Not one particular subject or matter. It's just moving on with life, girlfriend, past, present, the day, the moment, the negative, the bad moments, stuff like that. Just like moving on, letting go, moving on. And then I guess you can add letting go in there too, but that goes into the difference of moving on and letting go.
Yeah, that's another key part of moving on, definitely.
Yeah, you know, so yeah, that's what I want to talk about today. So, I think.
Are you ready to move on?
Yes, I'm definitely ready to move on. I'm ready to move on to bigger opportunities that I can have for my life. And and I'm ready to move on from the past that I've been actually, sitting on the back burner for all these years, holding on to, just letting it just sit right there on the side of me, man. Just everywhere I go, just
it's always that
making a decision based on the past. You know what I'm saying? So
instead of starting with a brand new foundation and creating from that foundation.
Correct. And just giving things a try without having that doubtful mind of something happening from your past. Because see, as I progress in this life, right, I'm starting to learn that, like, the way we look at things is really a societal mindset of it. Like, you can be influenced by something that you like, but being influenced by your whole entire surroundings is something that I don't no longer want to be around, to absorb. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And I think that's what a lot of us we do. And then that's why I feel like it's hard for a lot of people to move on because of that. Also, it's like you already seeing what's in your household,
right?
And then you see what's out in your neighborhood,
right? And
then some people like myself, I never used to expand outside of my neighborhood, so I always was stuck in that little big box, whatever. So growing up, I felt a certain type of empathy and sympathy for a lot of different things.
What made you want to get out of, what made you want to get out of the box of your norm? Because you know how we grew up. So, I can't say how we grew up because sometimes not everybody get a chance to experience, like we said before, the outskirts. Oh, I'm going to visit family. Oh, I'm going to doing this. What for you made you realize that I want to get out of the box of what I'm used to doing, of the norm that I am basically trying to explain?
So the first thing was, and this may sound crazy, was a friend of mine was talking to me about me opening up. I wasn't never a person that used to open up at all about anything.
Right.
So this person was talking to me about opening up and saying, yo, you're never going to be happy or find some sort of happiness if you don't let somebody know what is going on with you. So, because that's how much I did not say nothing. I had people cry, tears out their eyes because begging, like, could you please just talk to me? And I just was sitting there with a dead face, like, there's
nothing wrong with me.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Literally with a dead.
What do you mean? I think I'm okay.
Yep, literally with a dead face, man. So I gave it a shot, and then I did it the wrong way, where I think I OD'd on it. I started.
We've been there.
Then not necessarily meaning that I OD'd, but I OD'd on talking to the wrong people versus just opening up. I just started opening up to every single person. And
you know what? I think that turns into a position of when you're opening up yourself to certain people. When you're opening up, and they get that version. And then when you open up to certain people, you get maybe the full version. So this person gets a sample of what you mean, and that person gets like, this is why I'm doing this, because blah blah blah. So within us, we realize that you get a little bit of this and you get a little bit of that, and I'm giving you enough and I'm giving you the full. If you've received the full, that means you got everything that I have going on within inside me. If I'm giving you a half-ass or a half aspect of what I'm giving you, then you're getting something, you're getting enough. And you're only getting enough because I don't feel that you're willing or understanding to know the full person that you're dealing with.
Correct. So that was one example. And this is stemming from the process, because everything is a process.
Absolutely.
So that was the beginning of the process. Another one was I didn't have a lot. So once I got into the work area, work field, once I started working, and I started having my own money and ability to doing certain things, being able to buy my own hats, clothing, little stuff like that. And then once I started getting in trouble and then losing those jobs, and then trying to get more jobs with the trouble that I got myself into, it was really, really hard for me to get a job. So once I started going like almost about a year, 2 years without getting a job because of the setbacks I put on myself, I started to appreciate the aspect of keeping something when you have the opportunity of getting it.
Right.
So
don't let yourself be your own worst enemy.
Correct. And so once I got another job, and then it was through a temp service and then hired on. Only joint that messed with me at the time. So again, I was just super, super appreciative at that time. Like, I really understood at a younger age the value of certain things, like the value of a job. I understood that because I didn't have one as I wanted one. And I couldn't get one. And then when I finally got it, I was like, oh my God. Dude, for me, I was like, dude, and I only had misdemeanors. You know what I'm saying? So I had misdemeanors and I was having trouble getting a job. So let me tell y'all right now, kids. The ones that's young, the ones that's out there thinking that they can do whatever they want to do in life at a young age, going into adulthood, these charges that you're attaining and obtaining when we're young and we don't really understand the full meaning of getting in trouble is real. It's real to the point where it will hinder your life. It will hinder your life to an extent that you will not be able to fathom. When you really, really want something that you never thought that you wanted before, and then something like the trouble that you find, like, damn, that was really stupid of me. 15 years from now, You just listen to this podcast, please. Listen to this podcast. Listen to my voice. It's not worth it. The trouble that we try and get ourselves into, and some of us do it for attention. I'm telling you, it's not worth it. It is really not worth it. I got into trouble twice and got 2 misdemeanors, got out of felonies and got 2 misdemeanors. Got a job, go downtown, get the background check, rap. Right off the rip, rap. Try to get another gig, same thing, rap. And again, it took a whole year and some change to find another job, and that was a temp agency. So I had to go backwards and have somebody else find me a job in the hopes of me moving into that position permanently.
And you moving forward.
Yep. So it was, and that was young too. That's what's crazy. And like I wasn't a young adult. So I was 19, 20, and 21 years old when these things was happening.
Oh, you was 10 toes down when no, you know the crazy thing about it is, you was like how old? 19, 20, 21?
Yep.
Think about what year that was.
Yeah.
And how old, because I think you're a year younger than me. Think about the time frame of everything that was going on. Due to the fact that I was in the military and I got a chance to experience what was that aspect of what was given to me, because I was already like kind of like compartmentalized being in the military. Mm-hmm. So I didn't get a chance to experience the whole lifestyle of that era. Mm-hmm. So a lot of guys that experienced that era, and I'm gonna be real, people might not like it, but it's true. We were basically given that kind of like lifestyle being in the military. It was kind of given to us. Mm-hmm. We didn't really experience it. Because let's say, about around that time, maybe let's go around what? Let's be honest, like maybe like 2003, 2004 maybe?
Yes, about 2004, 2005.
So guess what? You've seen it, but you didn't really experience it. We talking about, and let's be honest, the South held it down that time. So you had your Little Johns, your T.I.s, your crime mobs, your Jeezys. You had all that now being pushed to the forefront. And the biggest of substances of it happening. So, and people might not want me to say it, but it's the truth. You didn't really experience that until you were in the service at that time frame. Because a lot of that stuff that was going on that they started to put out more. You might have done it normally, but once it started getting put into the forefront globally, then you kind of like adapted to it. You know what I'm saying? Because that was a serious time frame in music. And to be real, the South held it down. Mm-hmm. The South came through and went through in a storm with music, style, fashion. And here we go. Crazy size Mitchell and Ness jerseys, big jeans, airbrush t-shirts. You know what I'm saying? Depending on if you were older, I'm talking about me personally. If you were older and you was hanging out with older people at that time frame, they had a different mindset. But for a lot of the young guys that was growing up during that time frame, try and go to a club at like 18, 19 in certain states with a 3X Mitchell and Ness jersey on. Mm-hmm. 2 big Rockefeller jeans, Inichi jeans. You know what I'm saying? I'm saying? It was a different kind of time frame during that time, and you absorbed what you were in and around during that time frame. And then we get mad at the young kids for, I don't want to say it's like shrinking the clothes down, but it comes with the territory. Try to find somebody right now that's walking down the street with a throwback jersey on and like some Artful Dodger jeans. You look at them like they crazy.
Yeah.
And that's how time goes. You know what I'm saying? Certain
Seriously.
styles change, certain people change, and everything. But sometimes they change for the better. You know, sometimes you may need to put on a pair of jeans that actually fit.
And so, those was like the little steps. But what daggered it, because it was 3 steps for me to want to move on, like, and to see different things, was the separation of my parents. There was things that I seen within that I just felt I don't have to do when I have my opportunity. And so as I progressed in life, holding on to certain things, holding on to a bunch of whys, and then still trying to work myself into being my own person and own man, I started to experiment and experience a lot of different things on my own. And so I ran across a bunch of different people that just kind of helped along the way. And
they didn't give you the fulfillment that you needed and what you were looking for.
Yes. And not even as far as female wise.
I didn't say female.
Or just people.
No, I didn't say female.
Yeah, but just the people. Yeah. People. But I started to look at a lot of other people that I was never around. And I started to be around these people. Started to see how they were attaining stuff. Starting to see how people were moving on the other side. And when I seen that some of the stuff that they was doing was just as well as what we would do, I was like, oh, really? No, everybody is really on the same playing field, to be honest. And I end up running across a person, and they helped with the situation with me moving on with my father as far as a bunch of whys. And once I heard something a certain way that it was told, I finally understood. I finally understood it was time to move on. It really was. And
because everybody has their own things that they go through, and
correct.
They don't know how to.
And so going back, yes. And so then to go back to those first 2 things that helped taught me how to move on, which some people probably don't understand.
So basically, it was your method of moving on.
It was my method of moving on. Yes. So I did not want anything bad from my past to carry on for the rest of my life. And those were the 3 things that I went through in stages of my life, from an adolescence to a teenager to an adult. So I pretty much broke it down into those.
You compartmentalize those situations.
Correct.
Right.
Because it starts from somewhere. It just don't start from adulthood.
No.
So that's why I broke it down into, because some people probably was, what the hell are you talking about? Getting a job and getting in trouble, but these is from my adolescence to my teenage to my adulthood. These was all lessons to move forward into doing certain things that I was doing in those eras. Because each one of those eras, I was doing something totally different
from what you're supposed to do
than what I was supposed to be doing.
But you know what? With that being said, also, you know, when do you, as a person, decide to move on? And because you have to understand, some people look at it as being the norm. And because we look at it as if it's the norm, we have to understand, if it's the norm, then that means it's not an issue.
Correct.
And because it's not an issue, we keep going and continuing that aspect of not seeing a problem with it.
See,
but when someone sees that we may think it's normal, but somebody see it and understands that it's not normal, and try to give you some input on it, the first thing you do is you want to attack and you want to retaliate, not knowing that it's not normal, but it's your defense mechanism that basically said it's your defense mechanism that makes you want to lash out, even if it's wrong.
So
you know.
Piggybacking on the normal part, right? What we look at as normal is physical,
right?
But that mental, you don't have a clue what that person is going.
I told you before, it's that ninja blade.
And this is where
in the anime that slices, but you don't see the slice. But when you all of a sudden that you start to fall apart, and you be like, well, and that's how it is mentally as well. And for some people, there's a lot of it, and because there's a lot of it that you don't see. You don't understand it because it's been happening so much, and because it happens so much, once again, it's the norm.
And you're looking at a physical state of normalcy.
No, you're not looking at the mental aspect.
But you're not looking at the mental aspect of it.
Absolutely, Dre.
And that's where it's not normal. And that's why I say a lot of times. We hold ourselves back with certain aspects because we look at a lot of the physical aspect of things, but we do not take care of the mental side of things.
And the mental side of things.
And I tried to change the physical so much that I wasn't even changing my mental.
But the outside looked good.
But the outside looked good. Going back to my adolescence and my teens. Those were things I felt was going to make me feel good as a person, right? Moving on, I felt those things was going to help me move on from the pain of being quote unquote poor or not having or missing out or whatever. I deemed those things as, I'm going to move on from being poor because what you see is the poor of what you see it as. Correct.
Because we all been in school with those dudes that had you think they had he got the fresh sneakers, he got this, he got that, but
But at the same time, are they learning something, or are they just being given something?
I think it's more of the fact that we seen it, being young and seeing it. It's more of. You're young, and when you're young, your visual gives you the aspect of worldly things. So if you look handsome or you're beautiful, and that's going for during that time frame, because let's be honest, the cute girl with the big hoop earrings that looked really pretty, the dude that had the fresh lineup every time with the half moon Caesar and all that, you seen us, oh man, yo, they fresh. You couldn't get a haircut.
I call it Daddy's Kitchen. That's what I used to get, the Daddy's Kitchen.
And it depends on who you knew. So if you seen that every day as a youngster in school and you're going through something, even if they weren't, because as I got older, I started to realize that those same people that had that had all that, parents had all kinds of issues. But you look good. You was fresh. Shorty had her hair done. He had a fresh cut, fresh gear, all that. That was the visual. Not knowing what the dad was doing to mom, not knowing what the mom was doing to the dad.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying?
Correct.
But what you seen as a young age of just trying to do what you're supposed to do, you seen that and you were like, oh man, that's what you wanted, not knowing. But what was going on behind those closed doors of that household.
So real fast, right? Because I know we talking, and I know some people are probably going to be listening to this, and they probably have a misunderstanding of why us talking about certain things like this. Absolutely. And where do moving on come into place with this. So let me give you a real quick definition of what Webster deemed as a move on, and that is to go on to a different place, subject, or activity, and etc. So moving on does not necessarily mean just moving on from a relationship, a job, or getting family relationship, something mental, or it could be anything. It could be what you deem is moving on, but it's moving on from a different place, that an activity and thing that you once were before, and you no longer desire to be in those particular places anymore. So that's what move on means. So that's why I am explaining the aspect of moving on from the need to have, which was the need to have money because I was without all these things.
You didn't have it, and you.
So now, and now as an adult, and even to this day, you know, a couple years ago, the thought of, actually, I'm gonna be real. Even it's just this year, I'm gonna be real. This year, I have had the thought of moving on to having to need every single thing. Now it's, let me have what I need to move on and be able to do other things. I do not need 150 sneakers. I do not need 30 pairs of jeans. I do not need 50 t-shirts to move on and be happy or have anything in my life. If I have 5 pairs of pants of different colors, particularly maybe 2 to 3, even 6 pairs of pants, let's go that high. If I had 6 pairs of pants, 3 of them were black, and then 2 or 3 were other colors, I'll be fine with that. If I had 10 t-shirts that I knew I can wash and it maintains its stability, and they were all different type of colors and the fit was perfect, that's all I need to move on in my life. I do not need to continue to buy. Even house stuff. I don't need to continue to buy a couch every 5 years just because.
I think that also, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I think that also goes with the circle that you hang around. You know what I'm saying? And it's more of a mental thing. If you're close and you're tight with somebody, and you heard that they're going through something that they having issues with, the common sense of notoriety, the notoriety of it, will make you think maybe twice about what you're purchasing, so you won't end up in that person's shoes. So I think when we hear it, because guess what? If I got it, and you know what? I'm not knocking no one that does have it. I'm not gonna knock you if you have it. If you can get it, you can get it. God willing, bless you.
That rain crazy.
Good, it's raining. Yeah, we finally getting that rain.
Smell good.
Oh, I sleep like a baby after that. Nobody talk to me, no nothing. But once we see that and we realize it turns into, maybe I can like pick up where they got, not knowing what their aspect is of how they got it, what they did to get it, whatever. And even if you don't get it, remember, you did not fail. It wasn't your lane.
Yep.
You have to find another lane for you to continue to go through that growth of not only receiving that, but making it a betterment of yourself.
Yep.
Because what we've seen is people start businesses and then certain businesses fall, and some people be like, I can't do it. Sometimes in the essence of you building your business or trying to move and progress in how you're moving, you get these little side roads. You get that yellow brick road. You know what I'm saying? And guess what? You might have that yellow brick road. You might have that silver spoon in your mouth. And you might travel down that yellow brick road. But guess what? I said a rap a long time ago. I went down that yellow brick road, but I realized those bricks of gold could be sold.
And this is just on the...
And that's just...
And for me, I think this is on the materialistic side.
That's an older version of who I am today, because you see that, and then you hear that, and you think that's what you can attain yourself to. But when you're moving on, the moving on aspect has to turn into, I did not fail. I did not fall. Whoever you may think that is looking towards you, of you failing, don't see that in you, because they see greatness in you. They see betterment in you. You know?
Yep. And again, I feel like that's on if we're talking on the material, I feel like this is the material side. Now on the mental side, like moving on from past trauma. So what I moved on from was the pain that I held on to from the past, from family issues and matters. I'm not going to speak too much on them. But I had some family issues growing up. I allowed them to stay with me from then till now. And the thought of moving on from the whys, why did this happen? Why did that happen? Man, I was 15 years old. Life happens. In a minute, and the sooner you realize that life happens, especially when you in that same age frame as some of those things you was trying to understand when that person was of age, or people was of age, and you start to be at that age range, and you start going through stuff, and you be like, yo, I totally see now, what the heck. Man,
I think
people was just trying.
I think the first
people was just trying.
I think the first realization of normality, of you becoming and seeing what you, and some people don't get a chance to do it, but I think the first realization of you wanting to do something and getting smacked in the face is when you actually trying to go to get something that's actually of yours.
Yeah.
And they tell you you can't do it because this is in this situation, this is in this situation.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's when, can we be honest?
Go ahead.
I'm trying to get everything I have together. I can't get it. Why can't you get it? My cable was in my mom's name at 8 years old. My cable was in my mom's at 8 years old.
Yeah.
I can't do this. I want to do this, I want to do that. You can't get it. Why? Well, because you're in it. And you try to realize, why would you do this to me to ruin my future? And now when I try to gain back the sustainability that I have as a person, it's going to take a little bit longer.
Mm-hmm.
Because you couldn't do what you had to do. So now I have to do that and double up and better myself.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So
next, I feel we're moving on, because we touched on the material side, we touched on the mental side, now it's the physical side. The physical side was me looking away and looking apart.
Damn.
You, at some sort of point in time, some of us do try and keep up with the Joneses.
We all do. Well, for the most part, we do.
And as long as you understand that you're trying to keep up with the Joneses and it's a temporary feeling, and you know you're just trying to find your way or something like that, I'm cool with it. But for you to just constantly always want to just feel like you want to just keep on wanting to fit in, overstep your boundaries, overstep your funds, overstep your livelihood, I think that's where it gets messed up. So moving on from the physical aspect of things, I learned, again, I don't have to have the Cuban, I don't have to have the Rollie, I don't have to have the Benz, I don't have to have the stuff that I don't desire. I don't desire a Benz truck. That's not something the brand, the model is not something that I looked for ever in my life. But
let's be honest.
The physical look. The physical look of it, people say they want it.
Don't matter how much.
But you don't want that pay. You don't want them payments.
I don't want that. But guess what? How many of us try to do that to impress a specific or a certain amount of group? And
have you for? Ain't nothing over there.
Yeah.
Right, that's Brody.
Shout out to Brody.
Shout out to Brody, man. But
guess what? No matter how much we try and look into that to make that other person feel a certain way, we don't even feel that way. We would rather go for the look of it, but you never know. That person they moved to the side. The coolest dude I ever met in my life, I tried to mimic to a T until he told me, yo, you don't have to mimic me, just be you. Nah, man, you are what I see as what's the flyest, what's the coolest, what's the great. Just you exude the flies and the greatest that I've seen. But to have that person tell me you ain't gotta be like me, be yourself. Who I am is who I am.
Yep.
What I've done and what I've been through is what I've been through. And if I can tell you, because you're younger, that you don't have to do that.
Yeah, true.
I'm going to do my best to tell you not to do it. If you decide to still do it, then that's on you. But for most people, we are put in positions of we're stuck. And we have to move on. And we have to move on to the sense of I have to stay at this job because I got to pay rent. I'm only staying here for a certain amount of time.
You're only doing those things, but
I can't even finish it.
You're only doing, what it is you're only doing those things, but at the same time, you are not fulfilling your life. You are not fulfilling the things that you want to do in your life.
But I can't fulfill none of that if I can't fulfill those things in my life. If all I've seen was something that mimicked to me what was the normal.
And I guess that's up to you to decide.
You have to.
That you no longer want to be in a box.
You have to. I got clowned in high school. I got clowned for wearing, if you want to call it, dress clothes, dress shoes. Everybody was rocking J's, butter J's, fresh jeans, and all that. I decided to put on and it was me. This is me. I want to put on some fly Giorgio Putini shoes or a nice little dress shirt. The first thing they would say is, yo man, what you going to church? Why are you looking like that? I used to watch old 60s shows back in the days. You know, the old school varsity sweaters and cardigan sweaters.
Those are still bad.
You know what I'm saying? Yo, what you trying to be a nerd? I like it. It's cool. It's cool to me. I like it. I enjoy it. But because you didn't follow the norm, you were looked down upon. And for some people, that puts you in a certain kind of funk.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And you like, I'm just being me. But there's nothing more crueler than school children, because school children don't have a filter. You have adults that don't have filters. But if it's an adult that doesn't have a filter, I can be like, all right, man, okay, that's what you're saying isn't really nothing to my, adherence of paying attention to. But when you're young and you hear that stuff, and for you think you're cool. You're the difference. But if somebody's telling you that and they got a little crowd around them, and they hear that, and then you get ganged upon, it does something to you. So the best thing you can do from that is you take that experience and you move on from it. Because guess what? I still fucking like cardigan sweaters.
Yeah.
I still like a pair of nice slacks. I still like a nice tie. I was going to clubs when I was older with cardigans and sweaters on, and the first thing they were saying was, "What, you trying to be like Boys to Men?" When Motown Philly came out.
That's crazy.
But I like it. That was me, and because it was me, I moved on from what they made fun of me of and created my own lane.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Because you have to move on.
Once I realized I wanted to really, like, I didn't want to go. I never wanted to go anywhere back in the day, right?
Right.
Just for the sake of, be careful. It's dangerous out there. Be careful, right? Yo, it's real. Or it's who you think you better than us because you went somewhere, right? That aspect.
Right.
Once I realized what was out in the world, and that was a little bit of taste.
And you had a chance to
just a dibble,
sample what it is. It was like this.
Just a dibble dabble. And you know what started that part was when my job sent me somewhere to train another facility to do something that I was doing in my job. Mm-hmm. And I never flew. And I was scared. I'm still scared of heights to this moment though, right? So when I had to fly there.
I don't know what you're going to do when we take this trip to Dubai.
Oh no, I'm flying all over the world now. So yeah, I'm all over now. So yeah, that was, again, you got to move on from certain things, man.
I'm trying to tell you.
You got to move on from certain fears and stuff and be like, okay, that's all right. Because I can't let that.
I'm going to make it happen because I want to go.
I can't let that hold me back. Yeah. So once, even stuff like that though, man. Like the thought of, man, I can actually fly. And then watching these dudes around me just whip out gold, platinum cards. Talking about, so who gonna take this one? Who gonna take this bill this time? Laughing about it, right? And I'm like, man, these dudes do this all the time. Just travel, go out for dinner, right? Like enjoy a nice, good dinner on the job. And then, man, so
it gives you
seeing that and then seeing that in a different state that you live.
But it's either gonna push you to want to be in that position, or you're gonna go in the reverse role. Also, they think they're better than me, and then you go into the negative aspect.
Yeah.
And not the positive aspect. I see stuff like that. Positive, it's like this.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing you can do. You might have a certain title or a certain position, but there's nothing that not only you can do, there's nothing that you can say that I can't do.
Correct.
Because I am just as great as you. You just had a bigger advantage over me. Mm-hmm. But there's nothing that you can do. I talk you in a circle with knowledge and everything, and you look at me with the boo-boo the fool face.
Yep. And all you got
and
over
you be like,
and all you got over me is $1.
And all you got is $1. So that's gonna either do one or two things. That's gonna be like, I like this person, or so this jackass who's doing so and so is. He thought he can one-up me on blah, blah, blah. But that's on you. Because I gave you the gift. I gave you the knowledge that I knew. And it's not going to change. So you hear it. It's either going to look at me a certain way. Or no, you are. You're going to look at me a certain way. Because whatever you expected to think of me, I just gave you something that you probably wasn't expecting of me. So when I told you and I gave you that, now you're like this. Oh. He's not just a pool putt. Mm-hmm. He's not just, somebody in a position where he just doing A, B, and C. He got some knowledge about him. Let me pick his brain. Now come pick my brain. And when you decide to pick my brain, you'll be amazed at what you find. Mm-hmm. I might be good at numbers. I might be good at knowledge. I might be good at history. I might be good at business. But I was put in a certain position at this moment until I got to where the Most High wanted me to be. Sometimes you got to start at the bottom to gain your greater cause of what you are meant to do for others.
Yep. And that's where, again, I mentioned those 3 steps and stages that I had of moving on. Those things got me to where we at today. And this is this podcast.
Which I appreciate you for. Thank you.
I appreciate you also for that stuff. But make a long story short, though, once I understood that I really wanted something and it was in no regard to anybody else but myself.
That means did you have to put in yourself that you had to take a form of sacrifice to do it?
Yes. And the sacrifice was doing for me first before I did for others. But then at the same time as I do for others, make sure that I'm still not giving away
too much of you.
Too much of me, if any of me at all. You know, you can still do stuff for others and still not
keep your sanity.
And keep, yeah.
Can I borrow $5?
Because it's a yes or a no. And you gotta, and it's either you gotta accept that yes or that no. It is what it is. You can't get mad.
I just asked you to borrow $5.
Sure, if you need it.
Yeah, and you would say, I ain't got it. But I see you spend that $5 on something that you don't need, and I look at you like, man.
But I don't have it to give to you. Maybe that was my intent for the $5 in the first place before you even asked me for it. And then you happen to see me spend it, and then be like, yo, I thought dude, I had this plan on spending this at 10 o'clock this morning.
Right.
So I've been holding on to this 5 since then. Now I got the free time to spend it. So, that's, again, you got to...
Once again, we try to meet everybody.
Me being me.
Right.
This is how I moved on from thinking out the box, thinking inside the box.
Right.
And that's how I think outside the box now. So if I see you tell me no, and I see you do it, it's like, you probably needed that. You probably already had the intention.
You probably needed it more than me, depending.
And that was already your intention on doing whatever it was that you had, that you did it when I watched you for it.
Right.
That probably was your intention. Can't get mad at that.
I can't get mad at that.
So, but I learned that in order to move on, I learned that in order to move on, I learned that in order to move on in life with certain aspects of life and things that has happened in your past, you have to learn how to move on first and then let go. Because you cannot just initially let go right off the rip. And I think that's what hurts us as people is we allow that. We think that we could just let go without moving on, just in a snap of a finger without a process.
I'm not dealing with this person. I ain't got to deal with them. So everything that y'all been through, or everything you've been through with the company, relationship, family, you're just going to cut off.
Right off the rip.
Right off the rip?
It's a process.
Of course it's a process.
And the process is, it's going to hurt that you no longer can be around these people as much as you used to. You understand that.
And everybody won't understand what's
we won't
best
even
for you.
be around each other at all, ever again. But it's a process that you have to have in order to let go. And then once you go through that process, even if it's like, okay, so say like if I broke up with somebody and I was
Speak on it.
And I was cool with their father. And
talk to him.
The process of letting go, like me and this man was really cool. He was a father figure or whatever, right? And the process of letting go is to have to move on. And if I talk to this man every day like I used to, and then we just talk, and then I start learning about myself or learning about life or being a man or an adult or his daughter or whatever the case may be, it starts to go into you start learning now without anger, without animosity, without tension. And then you start gaining maturity, more maturity. And after a while, you gonna start looking at this dude and say, you know what? His daughter may want to start coming around on these times. And because me and her situation, we're no longer together and she know we still cool. And these are the times that I come around, she may be sacrificing something.
Or what she got going on.
Or you might be like, hey, I just started going to the gym. I met another mentor, you know what I mean? And then you start realizing maybe it's another process to start moving on, letting this man live.
Yeah.
You know, but it depends on the situation. It depends on how you are.
It depends on the situation, but at the same time.
Like, especially if it's somebody that you really cared for, sometimes.
No, that's not true.
I said sometimes, not all the time. And you don't even know what I was about to say.
I'm sorry, I had a flashback.
Well, what you thought I was about to say?
I don't know what you about to say. I had a flashback of a chick leaving me when I was on deployment. But
okay.
Yeah. But sometimes you gotta race.
You gotta who?
You gotta race. Sometimes.
A race?
Sometimes you gotta race.
Erase?
No.
Race?
Yes,
like run race?
Yes, you do.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes you gotta race.
Sometimes. In the form of. Like I think I know what you're talking about. Race.
Even if you don't, guess what?
Somebody do.
You have to understand that when you're in a position of just trying to move on or just doing you, it's up to you to try to make the decision of which lane or path that you are going to take. I know that if I go down this lane and this path, it's going to get me out of the situation, but these are the traumatizations that it's going to lead to. If I go through the other path, it's the same thing, but there's a better amount of me doing a lot better if I can buckle down to it. And because I'm out here and because I'm doing what I want to do, doesn't mean I'm doing it in a sense of doing what's right for me. Because guess what? You might be having a good time, having a great time, but guess what? Your good time and your great time affects your mom, affects your dad, affects your brother, affects your sister, affects your son, affects your daughter, affects your family, affects your wife. Mm-hmm. But you are living your best life to what you believe it is. Mm-hmm. And because you're believing that, you're not looking in the aspects of everybody else. Mm-hmm. Trust me, I've seen it. And because you do that, it disrupts a lot of aspects of not only who you are, but your family. And now you're asking people, it don't matter who, I know who I am. I'm going to do what I want to do. And I'm basically, in a nutshell, I'm basically asking you to accept my fuckery.
Yeah, but have you moved on from that stuff though?
For the most part, a lot of them don't. Because some people still have that aspect that they can still do it. You probably can still do it, but you gotta remember the game has changed. It's not as simple as you may think it is. The quickness of you going and jumping out there into that level, it's not the same as what someone else is doing, the same thing that you're doing that has a better attribute of making it happen quicker.
Yeah.
Because guess what? You can do it. But guess what? I can speed past this level on Sega. Alright, bet. Cool. But guess what? I got a cheat code. And my cheat code made me skip that level. I don't gotta go through 1, 2, 1, 3, final boss. I can skip straight to 2-1. I can get to do. I can skip all those levels on Mario and go to this level. You have to understand that, and you might you see it because you know the game, and because you know the game, you know how the game goes.
So, not to cut you off, right?
Please do.
So to talk, so about the moving on with in the example with the father, right? So this is one example of what I was talking about. Keeping tabs on your ex. This is an example. Moving on probably mean
bro, my face on that one after that, bro. I was like,
Like the name, like okay, so here's the difference. Like this is what they explain, kind of right between the difference between moving on and letting go.
Yo, we might have to redo this video.
So moving on means to them, when it comes to a situation like that, is you changing a person's name in the phone, not as an insult, but as a reminder or some stuff like when they call or text, and then you may still try and keep tabs on them because you don't know, you still want to know what's going on with them, right? Letting go means you have deleted them, you have unfollowed them, you even may have blocked them. They're not in your life anymore, they're not this, they're not that. So, like the example with the dad, you're still keeping tabs with the father even though you and her has broken up. So you're moving on, learning to let go, learning how to let go.
Slow motion better than no motion.
Exactly, that's what I mean. But then eventually you're looking at that as
I'm still chopping up.
I'm still
chopping up with your dad and me and you not together.
You don't know if that may be affecting his or her relationship.
No.
Even though y'all too cool.
It all depends on how long I was with her. It all depends on how long I was with her. Because depending on whoever, if the dad was around, depending on the building of the relationship that me and him have, it's going to depend on how me and him kick it or me and her kick it.
But what I'm saying is, if you got to the point where you still kicking it with the dude after the relationship is over.
No, I wouldn't even do that.
Because you're not in that situation though. You know what I'm saying?
I take that back. It all depends on who it was.
That's who exactly. But eventually,
for the most part, yo, if we were together and we did, and I probably.
But if you meet another girl,
right?
Not saying that he would deter you from moving on with that woman.
No, but if her dad's still conversing with me, and she don't want to converse with me, we gotta understand those are two different dichotomies of people. You have the person that you were dating. Because you have to understand. Okay,
I see what you're saying.
If her dad was a specific branch in the military, and me,
so you can talk to him, but you just lose all contact with her.
It all depends on the relationship that me and her had. Because the relationship that me and her have is probably totally different from the relationship that her father had, especially if he was doing certain things. And I'm not just saying military. If me and him can connect on a certain level, and he still looks at me, you gotta understand, some of the dads still look at you. You wanna have a drink? You wanna go talk? Because they understand who you are as a person.
Okay.
Depending on.
Okay. I understand what you're saying by that, right? You know what's a perfect example of both of our conversation is Meet the Fockers.
Right.
This is a perfect example of what I'm talking about and what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
This woman has moved on with her life.
Right.
Met Ben Stiller.
Right.
And this man is trying to get in her family's good graces.
Mm-hmm.
Preferably the father.
Right.
The father is still in cahoots with the ex guy.
Why?
Because he has a liking to him. Because
he comes from a specific background that attributes to what he wants his daughter to have.
Which is fine.
I understand that.
Which is fine.
I understand that.
But in the movie, he noticed that he was being a deterrent in their relationship, and he literally backed away a little bit for the likings of Ben Stiller to move on. And this is what I'm saying. So
what you want for your child or whatever it may be, you see a specific thing, but you gotta understand your kid goes which.
No, not him.
Because you had
the ex.
The ex, yeah. Because not Ben Stiller.
I can't think of his name.
Robert De Niro's daughter grew up in that lifestyle. Okay, let's say it like this.
That Ben Stiller didn't live.
let's take it like this. There are certain people that go for a lifestyle that they've always seen, and there are some that want to disseminate away from it.
Okay.
Completely.
But my thing is, okay, matter of fact, that example was the right example, wrong person. Meant to use the X though. Meant to use the X as the primary example of this, not her.
Right.
The X is the primary example of that Ben Stiller conversation. So he moved on.
Right.
They both moved on.
Mm-hmm.
He still was in cahoots with the father.
Mm-hmm.
Right? She let go. Because she was about to marry Ben Stiller. Mm-hmm. So eventually she let go. He was still moving on and not letting go. In the middle of that movie, or towards the end of the movie or whatever like that, he's seen what he's seen and said, oh shit, let me step back. She really liked this dude. You know what I mean? And that moment, he let go. But you see what I'm... So there's a difference.
But you have to understand, when do I realize that I have to not only let go, but say, no matter how much I was 10 toes down in this situation, that I can't do it no more?
When it hinders your future, and you notice that it hinders your future?
So that means you have to understand what is actually
your future,
messing with your future, or you're hindering what's going on in your physical life. Okay, now let's be honest. How long does it take for you to realize that the situation is starting to get fucked up? The last one that you were in, before you say, I can do it.
Depends on the person.
It takes multiple times. It takes multiple relationships. It takes multiple aspects of realizing that this ain't right. Because guess what? You got some people that do certain things that get put in certain positions that's detrimental until they realize maybe this ain't where I need to be.
Yeah.
This ain't right. I don't know. Maybe this ain't right. Maybe this ain't right. Okay, so when you realize that it ain't right, before you either put yourself in a position where it's damn near detrimental, you know what I'm saying? Or you just gonna ride the wave. Oh man, that's my girl. I seen her out. Alright, cool, let me run up on her real quick, see what's up. How many times you gonna decide to say run up before you decide to say, hey, I need to find somebody else because it looks like she is doing something else? On that note, we appreciate you guys tuning in to Good Neighbors. You guys get home safe and be happy. God bless you. Good night. Intro music.
Oh man. Wow. That was perfect. I'm sitting here like, the fuck? I'm sitting here like, yeah.
That's how you end that.